I'm Ben Affleck, and I want to thank you for joining me and supporting Paralyzed Veterans of America.
I joined the Navy to serve my country as a Navy SEAL. While parachuting with my platoon, my parachute didn't open. When I broke my neck, it left me paralyzed. Paralyzed Veterans of America was by my side from that moment on.
Since 1946, Paralyzed Veterans of America has kept a promise to our wounded veterans. We will never leave a fallen comrade behind.
Thanks to PVA, paralyzed veterans are getting specialized medical care and treatments, the benefits they've earned, the jobs they want, and the accessible vehicles and homes they need.
I just don't think my family would be as happy as they are without the support that I received from Paralyzed Veterans of America.
Our veterans fought for us. Let's fight for them.
To learn more, go to pva.org today.
With SRN Sports, I'm Jeremy House. Major League Baseball, the New York Mets down the LA Dodgers 7-3 in Game 2 of the National League Championship Series.
Francisco Lindor and Mark Vientos each hit home runs to help the Mets take Game 2 and even the series at a game apiece. Lindor got his homer leading off the game that ended a string of 33 consecutive scoreless innings by Dodger pitching. But it was in the second inning that Vientos provided the game's big moment, smashing a grand slam off Landon Knack. Sean Manaea pitched into the sixth inning to get the win. Edwin Diaz got the save.
That's correspondent Mark Myers reporting. Meanwhile, Juan Soto homered during New York's 3-run third inning. Carlos Rodon got his first postseason win, and the Yankees took advantage of Cleveland's wildness in a 5-2 victory in Game 1 of the American League Championship Series. This is SRN Sports. College basketball, a Big 12 school is the overwhelming favorite atop this year's preseason poll.
Kansas is number 1 in the AP Top 25 preseason men's basketball poll, ahead of Alabama and two-time defending national champion UConn. The Jayhawks got 30 of 60 first-place votes. Houston and Iowa State round out the top 5, followed by Gonzaga, Duke, Baylor, North Carolina, and Arizona. The Big 12 has half of the top 10 teams, but the SEC has the most in the top 25 overall with 9. That includes number 16 Arkansas, led by new coach John Calipari, and number 23 Kentucky, where Mark Pope replaced him. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
In the NFL, the Buffalo Bills beat the New York Jets 23-20 to take control of the AFC East. And in the NHL, winners included New Jersey, Florida, Ottawa, the New York Rangers, Pittsburgh, and the New York Islanders. This is SRN Sports.
Here's your look at sports and weather update.
That was your look at sports. Now here is Brandy Gregory in the Weather Center with your 3-day weekend weather forecast. Hey, Brandy.
Thank you, Sean. Good day to you and good day to everyone. I'm Brandy Gregory with your 3-day weekend weather report, brought to you by the Growing and Flowing podcast. On my podcast, I love to connect my present-day experiences to my childhood to get a better idea of who I am, who I've been, and who I am becoming. So if you are interested, go ahead and give me a listen on any platform that you get your podcast on. And if you would love to support any of my future endeavors, go ahead and shoot me something over to my official Cash App. That will be $growing, the letter N, flowing, pod. Now here's what's happening in your local area. For Atlanta, Friday, we are looking at a high of 68, a low of 44 with all sunny skies. Saturday in Charlotte, we have a high of 76, a low of 48 with all sunny skies. And in Phoenix for Sunday, we are really hot at 98 with a low of 69 with all sunny skies. Once again, my name is Brandy Gregory, reporting live from the Weather Center. Stay tuned for more news, sports, and weather reports at the top of every hour on Podcast FM 87, Reach One Network, and Honey exclusively on Roku.
Good evening, and welcome to Therapy Ain't No Joke. I am the architect, Sean Garvey. Make sure you follow us on all social media, The Mental Space Live. That's where you can follow us on social media. For those that are new to Therapy Ain't No Joke, this is the show in which we have candid conversations with different people, whether it's community leaders, people working in the mental health industry, or people like you watching us that want to come on and tell your mental health journey story with us on how we can do the work and hold ourselves accountable to making sure that we have a healthy and great mental well-being. All right, tonight we got a special guest joining in on the conversation, and this is a conversation like no other. Me and this particular individual spoke about it offline, and I felt the need to bring her on tonight's Therapy Ain't No Joke. For those that wonder why I do shows like these, it's part of my therapy process. And, even as broadcasters like myself, a professional one, if you will, this is also our haven to really get things off of our chest and to get things off of our minds, to have a important dialogue on different things where mental health and even therapy is brought up in the conversation. So we're going to get into that in just a few moments. Also, want to remind people that this is the month of October, a very big and important month in October, not just because October is Halloween, which is at the end of the month. We're coming up on it almost, if you will. But October is a very important month, especially for people who may be in a questionable and toxic relationship, or even a toxic marriage, if you will. But October, let me tell you why it is important. October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So just like mental health awareness, October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So if you or anybody is in a relationship, toxic-based, trauma-based, all of the above, and they have not sought any help yet, they may need to ASAP, okay? It doesn't matter what your skin color is. It's not a race thing. It's a global thing, all right? A national thing, a issue that we all have to take heed, and we have to keep reminding people that it is not okay, definitely not okay, to be in a relationship or in a marriage or even dating somebody that is emotionally abusing you, mentally abusing you, spiritually abusing you, and even worse, physically abusing you. Okay, so please take heed, ladies and gentlemen. October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And with that being said, I encourage anybody that is in a state of depression or is experiencing some form of trauma from being in that relationship or being in that toxic marriage and dealing with the domestic violence that occurred in the situation, please everybody, or for those that are watching Therapy Ain't No Joke, to dial the Crisis and Suicide Lifeline 988. If you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis, please call 988. Now, before you call 988, make sure you call 911, okay? Call 911 and contact the local authorities to look into the matter, and then call 988. So I want to make sure I let everybody know and inform people to do that, all right? So before you call 988, call 911, but after you call 911, call 988, which is the 3-digit number if you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis from being in that relationship, being in that dating scene, or being in that marriage, okay? And for those that are familiar with NAMI, to contact the NAMI helpline, please call 1-800-950-NAMI. That is 1-800-950-NAMI-6264 between the hours of 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, or you can simply send them an email to info info@nami.org. That is info@nami.org. All right. And there is the number again for anybody that are inquiring or need to call the 3-digit number, 988. All right. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke. She's been on the show before. She is a licensed professional counselor and a part, if not only a part, but the head honcho, the CEO, the owner of Journey to Better LLC. So I'm going to bring her into the studio so we can have this candid conversation, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome back to Therapy Ain't No Joke, and I do mean welcome back, even though we're under a different name. I definitely would like to bring her back on and have this candid conversation. So please welcome licensed professional counselor, Chrystol Wilson Payne. Good evening.
Good evening, Sean. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you for coming on. How you doing? It is all about good vibes here.
Absolutely.
I wore this shirt for a reason.
Okay.
For tonight's conversation. But I wanted to bring you on. I saw you on Instagram. You did a video. We get into that, but let everybody know Chrystol Wilson Payne. And I want to make sure that I addressed you accurately and correctly. I mentioned Journey to Better LLC. You are the CEO, owner, and founder of the organization, correct?
Private practice, yes.
Right. Okay. So talk to our viewers and our listeners what the organization is, what is it about? Talk to us about that for a moment.
Well, I'm a licensed professional counselor, a therapist. I've been in the field for almost 20 years now. I think it might have been about 7 years ago, I decided to go into business for myself and started a private practice called Journey to Better. It is counseling and consultation. I see individuals and couples for therapy, and I also do things with businesses, educating them on mental health issues, doing parenting groups, all the things. We know that mental health affects almost every area of our life. And I am one of those people that can go into many different areas and speak to people about how they can take better care of their mental health. And even some employers, how they can help their employees take better care of their mental health so they can be the best employee they can be.
So talk to us, what is the day in the life of you working in that field? Walk through us day by day. What is it like?
What is it like? I've never been asked that question.
That's why you're here. That's why Therapy Ain't No Joke.
All right. So, well, right now, my practice is telehealth. So I do all of my sessions just like this. So I'm a mom and a wife as well. So the first thing I do in the morning is get my kids off to school. But then I come down here and see my first clients. And we just open up with, how was your week? Is anything different than the last time we spoke? And each person that comes in has a goal that they're working towards. So it could be recovering from past trauma, childhood trauma, relationship trauma. For some people, it could be dealing with anxiety. And how do I learn how to not feel so anxious? Other people, it could be marital issues. So I could be seeing a couple. So the day in the life of a therapist is really, you can have a plan, but more than likely it's not going to go that way because we're dealing with human beings that are coming in with whatever they're bringing in that day. And I'm just ready to help.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Walking in and being a pillar, a vessel to somebody that is dealing with something. They all come in with different stories, different scenarios, and you deal with that. And my follow-up question is, what does that look like for you in a post-COVID, post-pandemic world in your industry?
I have stayed booked and busy.
Has it been more busier than before COVID? So you're saying it's been much more busier after?
Especially as a Black therapist. There was an influx of Black people starting therapy in 2020 and 2021. But even one of the biggest differences right now is actually like there used to be a summer lull in therapy. So people would be like going on vacation. So you wouldn't have as many clients in the summer. Now it is literally consistently busy, especially for Black therapists. So that's one of the major differences that I see pre-COVID and post-COVID.
Yeah. Well, I take my hat off to you, of course. I mean, for you to do the work and be in the trenches with people and talking to people and still make it in time to be a part of this important episode. I mean, I take my hat off to you.
Thank you. I had a slow day today, so that's what.
I can only imagine what tomorrow would be like.
Yeah, look, I have
especially after watching this episode, because we about to dive in.
We'll get into some things. So I'm ready.
Yeah. All right. Like I said just a few moments ago, boys and girls, I wear this shirt for a reason for tonight. It's called Good Vibes. It's a shirt. I won't say which radio station I got it from in Atlanta, but the shirt says Good Vibes. It's the only shirt that I have with the wording Good Vibes on it, and I believe in walking in your truth and walking day by day with a good mindset, a positive mindset, good vibes, right? We hear younger folks say that all the time, like, hey, look, I'm all about that good vibe life. I'm all about good vibes here. We're all about good vibes here, and so forth, right? But there are times where people bring negative energy into your good vibe space. Mm-hmm. And that can at times, Chrystol, turn your good vibe energy into a not so good vibe energy, right? And it's just because simply, people are either intimidated or jealous, or they dislike what you are or what you're wearing or what you represent. Mm-hmm. So tonight's showrunner, for those who are just tuning in, is an interesting one. We've done episodes after episodes after episodes, just covering different topics pertaining to mental health, right? But tonight's showrunner they don't like us. They don't like us. And what does that got to do with mental health? How does that impact one's mental health, mental well-being? They don't like us, right? And so me and you talked offline, like I mentioned, and you recently did a clip on Instagram. You didn't go on Instagram Live, you just did a video. And you're known on Instagram, on social media, to do videos that get attention, that may go viral. But this video right here that I came across recently, it stood out to me, and I said, you know what, I've been feeling the same way for quite some time, and I'll talk a little bit about what I've been going through. I mean, I won't say too much, of course, because it'll take all night. That'll be in the next episode or in my upcoming book, whenever that will be. But I want to play a Instagram video. I don't know if you might be able to hear it, but I know our audiences and our viewers will be able to hear it. But I'm going to play the Instagram video of what you said, and then we will quarterback and talk about it. Okay. That leads us to having this conversation tonight. So let's go ahead and play the Instagram video, and then let's talk about it right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you care, please send us a Cash App love donation. $Reach One Communications to support the content, or go to reachoncommunications.com and click on Donate Now. All right. So let's go ahead and play the clip, and we will return. Let's see if we can bring this piece a bit down so we can hear it. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and play the clip.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but okay, I'm gonna say it. They don't like you. He doesn't like you. She doesn't like you. They don't like you. And there's absolutely nothing you can do to change that. Stop trying to prove your worth and your value to people who are determined not to see it, or who just don't want to. They cannot like you, and that doesn't have to have any impact on how you feel about yourself or how you move around the world. Let it go. It's okay not to be liked. It's okay to not please everyone. Move on with your life. They don't like you, and that's okay. I don't know.
Okay, that was a clip. A video clip of Chrystol Wilson Payne. Chrystol Wilson Payne, discussing on Instagram by way of TikTok, basically saying that it's okay that people don't like you, and that's okay, whether it's coming from a male or a female, guy, girl, don't matter. They don't like you, and that's okay. And I remember, Chrystol, when I saw the video and in the comment section, because I usually don't post comments or engage in conversations like these on the internet, but I remember saying in the comment section, I got to bring you on Therapy Ain't No Joke to talk about this. I've been thinking about this for a while, and so good to make this into a show topic. Spicy. I remember saying that. I remember saying that, and that's how I've been feeling for quite some time. Yeah. So we played the audio for our audiences and for our viewers, and so let's talk about it, Chrystol. Like, what prompted you to do that video on TikTok and on Instagram?
Well, a lot of times when I make those videos, it's like a response if I'm seeing like a theme in therapy that week. And I had been hearing from a lot of people in therapy and actually in my personal life about them trying to somehow make somebody like them or appreciate them or value them. And it was really like stressing people out or actually harming their own self-esteem because their self-esteem was based on these other people liking them. And I have certain clients where this is the meat of the work that we do together is them releasing the need to be liked and to please others, to just be themselves and be okay with not being liked or not being the one that's needed by people or not the one that's not admired, things like that. And so it was just, I know somebody else needed to hear it because I'm hearing a lot of it in my therapy session. So that's why I made the video, and it definitely seemed to resonate with some people. I got some texts and phone calls after it too.
Whoa, I can imagine it was a lot of calls, a lot of text messages.
You're like, why are you in my business? Or like, why are you, I know you're talking about me.
All right. I was just going to ask you, what was the feedback that you got from it?
Well, the feedback was thank you. Like, I needed to hear somebody tell me that it's okay to not be liked. Some of the other feedback was like, I don't know how not to care. I don't know how to not care about what people think about me. Some of the feedback was, so is this something that I should go to therapy about? Because I think I might have a problem with this.
So let me ask you, whether you was doing something else before you did the work in mental health, like, has there ever been a time in your life, if you can go back to maybe your childhood years, your teenage years, going into your adulthood, has there ever been a time where you came across a particular person or a group of people that just didn't like you for whatever reason, and you felt some type of way about it? Like, has that ever happened? And if so, how did that make you feel?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's why I can recognize it so much in other people. It was more in my childhood, but I was a military brat, so we moved around a lot. And I can remember once when we moved from Okinawa, Japan to Gary, Indiana. And at that point, I had never even lived in a black city. It was a culture shock for me. Being on a military base, we were living in Japan, and then we moved to Gary, Indiana, and I was going to a civilian school. So I walk in, some of the kids even ask me, where are you from? And I'm like, I just moved here from Japan. And they're like, that's weird. And they had a very different lifestyle than I did. And when they saw more about my lifestyle, they decided that they didn't like me. And this was maybe around 10 years old. And I didn't know how to make them like me because I was just being me. I wasn't trying to do anything, and I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. And that happened to me pretty consistently through my teenage years, the next place we moved. And I think for me, it was actually more of like giving up. Like, there's nothing I can do other than be myself. And the people that do like me will gravitate to me. But if they don't, I'm going to be okay, because I had a plan that I wanted to get out of there anyway. So I focused more on getting good grades. I focused more on the teachers. Do the teachers like me? That's more valuable than these kids liking me, right? Those type of things. But it was definitely difficult to make it through late elementary and middle school feeling like nobody really liked me until, later years. And it has definitely happened in adulthood. It doesn't feel good, but I don't care that much.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, as kids, right? And I remember when I was a kid, I made a lot of friends, but I also made a lot of enemies too. Mm-hmm. And I always wondered why everybody didn't like me. Was it something that I said or what have you? And you didn't know or learn early on why certain people don't like you, because as a kid, you don't understand. You just like, okay, I mean, you're just asking those questions in your head, right? Yeah. Like, why doesn't he like me, or why doesn't she like me, and stuff like that, right? And, as kids, especially when it comes down to bullying and being bullied and being in fights like I went through in my younger years, that really made such of a negative impact to me and in my life, especially later on, because you look back and then you'd be like, man, I should have did this differently, or I should have done this differently. You just have those different thoughts in your head, right? And so where you are at now, have you gotten the kind of clarity that you always wanted about why certain people don't like you as an individual? Have you gotten that type of closure?
Oh, definitely. I know that, especially in those childhood situations I was talking about, I on the one hand, I had some things that other people didn't have. And so they didn't. It was uncomfortable for them to see that. And as a child, they don't necessarily know what to do with that. So they take it out on the person that has it. So I understand that. I don't call it jealousy. I just think it was I had something that they wanted. And you know what the funny thing is? I remember one girl, I would probably consider her to be somewhat of a bully. And she ended up wanting to be my friend by the end of the year, and she wanted to come to my house and hang out with me and my parents and all of that. So I know that it was about, this is unfamiliar for me to see this, and I don't know what to do with it. So I think it also helped me have compassion for people that act out, which is probably why I'm a therapist. But that was probably the beginnings of it, to know that people may treat you a certain way because of their own insecurities. So that's the clarity that I've gotten when I think back on any of those situations where someone treated me poorly or they just didn't like me for whatever reason. It was more about them than me.
Mm-hmm. Licensed professional counselor Chrystol Wilson Payne joining with me right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke. She is the owner of Journey to Better LLC. I'm going to read something to you, and I want to get your thoughts on it.
Okay.
So when we talk about when people don't like you, it can negatively impact your mental health by causing feelings of low self-esteem, social anxiety, depression, and even paranoia, leading to a cycle of negative thoughts where you believe everyone dislikes you, right? Even if it's not entirely true, this can manifest as withdrawal from social situations, constant self-doubt, and an increased sensitivity to perceived rejection. What do you think about that comment? Or just that narrative alone?
Well, I mean, it's all true. It's definitely true. I think there's something that happens even before then. It's probably in the household of that person. They may have experienced quite a bit of rejection from possibly a parent or something like that started that rejection sensitivity. That's really what that is. and then it continues to grow. That really, what you described sounds a lot like social anxiety. And social anxiety, that really is, you literally think everyone that you encounter thinks something negative about you, is judging you, and it makes you not want to be around people.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I was definitely that person. I was definitely that kid that had a lot of social anxiety. And like I said, I've made a lot of friends, right? I made a lot of friends everywhere I went, everywhere I moved to. But I also had bullies. I also had enemies. That, to your point that you made, Chrystol, that, you know, people just gonna find something that they don't like you about because it's what you have that they don't. And you don't know that. You didn't know that at first until you find out later.
Right.
Right. And I just didn't know what social anxiety looked like. I never even heard of social anxiety coming up. But looking back at it now, I did have a lot of social anxiety, just the fear of not getting into, you know, anything that could cause me to be in even more trouble. Like, I wanted to be likable. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be likable. I wanted everybody to like me and that, right? And that social anxiety stood on me for such a long time, Chrystol. It bleed over into my adulthood later on, you know, and I've been just trying to fight it off or what have you. But then if I do my very best to fight it off, then I would feel like I'm not being my true self.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like I'm trying to fit in or try to be something that I'm not, you know? So what has your experience been in the mental health world? What has your experience been like dealing with or talking to people that have had that type of social anxiety?
Well, and I could say I've had a bit of social anxiety as well, but now I really think it's more about me being an introvert. And that's something else that we didn't really talk much about in the 80s or 90s, when I think that both of us we might be around the same age, but they didn't really talk about that, right? So you just need to behave a certain way. And if you weren't an outgoing, talkative person naturally, you needed to try to work to be that. So some of social anxiety, for some people, it actually is you're just a more introverted personality. You like to observe more than talk, or energy is taken from you in social situations instead of it, you know, coming into you, which would be more of an extroverted. So when I talk to people about social anxiety, I try to differentiate: is this actually social anxiety, or are you an introvert that's felt like you've been forced to be an extrovert?
Yeah. You know, those are two different things: social anxiety and introvert, which could be intertwined with each other.
It's like that diagram where there's some that are overlapping in the middle, and then there's two separate. So there's some symptoms that are similar, but social anxiety, for the most part, it is more debilitating.
Yeah. What are those symptoms, by the way?
Well, let me. I want to make sure I get them right.
Okay. All right. And once again, for those that are just tuning in and watching, our showrunner for the evening is They Don't Like Us. Now, this topic stems from a video that our very own special guest, Chrystol, put out there on TikTok by way of Instagram, and telling people that, hey, there are people in the world that are not going to like you, and that's okay. That's okay that people don't like you. And I'm going to ask Chrystol a question pertaining to that video and why she said what she said in just a few moments. But we want to break down some of the symptoms behind social anxiety as it ties in with tonight's showrunner, They Don't Like Us.
Okay. So it's a mental health condition that has to do with social interactions. So talking to people, being around people, sometimes even speaking in front of people. So people with social anxiety disorder, social interactions cause irrational anxiety, fear, self-consciousness, and embarrassment. Even before they say anything, they're already feeling embarrassed, self-conscious, and judged, and an irrational amount of fear. So there's an excess of fear of situations where they feel judged and they worry about being embarrassed or humiliated, and they have a concern about offending people. So there's also something not only about being judged, but that they're going to say the wrong thing. So you can see how that will be debilitating to be around people. And those are the constant thoughts that you're having. Am I saying the right thing? Did I just say the wrong thing? And then what do they think about what I just said? How do I look? Do they think I look crazy? All of that is happening. That's not what introversion is.
They don't want to make a scene. Is that what you're applying? They don't want to make a scene, whether it's in public or in the privacy of one's home or workspace or what have you. It sounds to me like the individual doesn't want to make a scene.
Well, they don't want to be the scene.
Two different things. Why do you say that? They don't want to be the scene. Why do you say that?
You can make a scene with, by pointing out something with somebody else, throwing some water. Like, you can make a scene, and that's making something bigger than you. The thing about social anxiety is they don't want to be the focus on them for any reason, because whatever reason they think it is going to be negative.
Do you think that comes from a trauma-based experience? Because I've heard before that people who have said to me offline, like, Sean, I don't want to cause a scene, or I don't want to be the scene, like you said. I don't want to put myself in that position because I've been through these type of experiences before, whether it was with a loved one or with a family member, those type of experiences that they have had as a child or as a teenager. Is that all, or for the most part, trauma-based?
No, not for the most part. Because some of us are just born more anxious, and social anxiety is just one of the anxiety disorders that we have. It's specifically focused on social interactions. So specifically for social anxiety, yes, there could have been a traumatic event, and it doesn't have to be traumatic, just a bad event. Not everything is trauma, but it could have just been an embarrassing event, and I never want that to happen again. And if you're already an anxious individual, now all your anxiety is focused on that never happening again.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I've been in situations before where I said to myself, never again. Never again, whether it was a professional space that I was in or a personal space that I was in. Like, I look at those experiences as teachable moments and to learn from them. But then, Chrystol, I mean, if we're having like a real conversation, which we're having right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke, it's like, well, I'm going to come across people with different sensitivity levels. And I want to make sure that I be myself towards any and all people, and not being able to, what's the word that a lot of young people are using these days? Code switch. You know what I mean? I don't want to code switch with every person that I meet because I'm not being authentic if I say the wrong thing or that sort of thing, right? I mean, is it really wrong to like think like that, Chrystol? I mean, I don't
to not want to code switch,
not to code switch or to step outside of my own element to please somebody or to please an individual to avoid any type of conflict.
It's not wrong, but it's not healthy.
Why not healthy? Why are you?
It's not healthy because you'll be changing literally for every person you interact with, and that means none of your interactions are genuine. No one ever gets to know who you really are because you change with each person. And so that also means you probably don't have that much of an idea of who you really are because you're putting so much time, energy, and effort into figuring out what each person wants from you.
But is that though part of the journey, Chrystol, is going through these different experiences and being who you are towards people so that you can get a better understanding of who you are?
That's part of the journey, is to just show up as you, and you can get feedback and then possibly make adjustments, but you're still being you.
So that leads to another layer in this conversation, because in the world of right now, people dealing with anxiety, people dealing with all forms of behavioral patterns, or even mental illness, right? And so I hear it all the time from certain individuals that say, I'm a work in progress, or if it's not that, it's, well, I'm not going to change for anybody. I'm going to be me. I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to be me. This is how God wanted me to be. I was raised like this. I'm going to be me. I don't care what anybody else say. Right. So I know what I just distinguished are two different things. I'm a work in progress, and then also talking to people who are showing up as their own truth. I'm going to be me. I'm not going to change for anybody. Right. Like, is there I guess like a certain time limit or a certain time in one's life where they need to switch it up or change their outlook on life or change how they are towards people, before they're no longer here, if you will? You know what I mean? Like, is there a certain place and time for a person that he or she must grow, or do you think they have to do it in their own pace?
Well, no one can be forced to grow. So there are people that have been getting feedback all their lives about this one particular aspect of their personality, and it's not changing because they don't want it to, right? So, but I would say let your life show you whether you need to make some changes or not. So if I have somebody come into my office and they're like, well, I keep getting the same feedback, or I keep having the same pattern in my life. I'm having trouble in relationships, or people keep telling me the same thing over and over again. The question I usually ask is, well, do you think that's a problem? That you keep being told that you're harsh, or that you don't know how to talk to people, or you keep getting in these relationships where people run all over you? Like, is your life telling you that something needs to change? If so, then the only thing you have control over is you.
Let's talk about both of us, right? I want to ask you, and then I will dive more into tonight's conversation. As you can see at the bottom there, showrunner, they don't like us. What do you think, looking back at it in hindsight, what do you think people didn't like about you? I mean, because you come off with a very positive energy. You seem like the type of person that do not boss anybody around. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes, they say looks can be deceiving, right? You know what I mean? But yeah, but you seem like you just full of light. You full of positive energy. But what would people say about you that they may not like about you, or they may not be fond of you?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was told directly several things. I was quiet, and that made them uncomfortable. So they didn't like that I was quiet. So I was called stuck up. Because of the grades that I got, I thought I was better than other people. Because of my family background, I thought I was better than people. If I wasn't saying anything, then I must have been thinking something negative about somebody. I remember somebody actually saying, "Why do you smile all the time?" So that was one of the, okay. It was just, I just know how to keep a pleasant, it was really more of a pleasant face, but they just didn't like my face. So I've got that. I actually had someone who was actually, I thought was a friend. I think she was still a friend, but she said my ability to do things in excellence made her feel bad about herself. So she didn't want to be friends with me anymore.
So everything you've done or presented about yourself that may be deemed as positive could be looked at as a negative towards other people. Wow.
To someone, it was a negative. And that was why I said I got to the point where it's like, well, okay, if I don't smile, then that means I have to look mean all the time. I don't want to do that. Okay, so, well, you're just going to have to dislike that. Or, so because I got an A, that means you think that means I think I'm better. I just studied. I'm not going to stop studying. So I guess you're just going to dislike me for that. And I just had to deal with walking around being disliked for doing these things or having the life that I had.
You know, it's interesting that we having this conversation because there are people out there, Chrystol, that feel like if I'm this good person or quote unquote nice person, that people will dislike me, people will hate me, people will continue to bully me. But if I transform into being a butthole or being a bad person, maybe people will like me much more better. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, just if I can use an analogy for one moment, it's just like, you know, with the whole thing, which is such a cliche, but the whole thing of certain women liking bad boys.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, I've heard that most of my life. And I heard reasons of why women or certain women, not all women, but certain women say they like bad boys because they like the edginess, they like the
excitement.
They like the excitement, they like the adventure and stuff like that. But being with a nice guy is boring. And they're not as thrilling as the bad boy. So it's like being nice is a bad thing.
It is to some people. To some people, and it sounds crazy. It sounds very strange that a woman wouldn't find a man that is, you know, stable, kind, you know.
But what do you think that comes from, though? What do you think that do you think it just comes from how they're brought up? I mean, and when I say they, I'm talking about the people that don't like the nice person. You know,
I think it's unfamiliar. They've never seen it. They've never interacted with somebody like that. But also, it's also like an insecurity within themselves. I don't know how to be that. I don't know how to show up like that.
The insecurity. Yeah.
I don't know how to just be okay with sitting over there by myself. I have to have people around me. So now I'm going to say something. You're weird because you can just spend time by yourself.
You know, insecurity and just being insecure, a very strong word there. And I think we all have been in spaces and places before, Chrystol, of being insecure because of we're so busy in our minds trying to please as many people as possible. And if we show up as we are, you know, being quote unquote nice or being this good person or being a people pleaser, is we get very insecure. If the more of this energy we put out there, we might run people away. And you know, back then I didn't want that. Like, I didn't want certain friendships to end because of my kindness, of my niceness.
Okay.
You know, but then you get into a conversation where people can take advantage of your kindness, your niceness. And the more a person takes advantage of your niceness and your kindness, that's when you might end up transforming into that different person that you're not used to being. You become a different person by being a bad person now. Because you have come to the realization that this person has taken your kindness for weakness and for granted.
And that's usually when your kindness is based on trying to be nice. It's not true kindness, it's being nice, which means you're doing what you think the other person wants you to do. And so I said there's a difference between being nice and being kind. Kind is just, for the most part, it's just treating people the way you would like to be treated, right? So, but nice is trying to figure out what this person would like for me to do, or what they would like for me to, who they would like for me to be, and I do that thing in order to keep the relationship.
Do you think it's just a different time that we're in right now socially? I remember my mother, who comes from a different generation, And she said back then, women just wanted a nice guy. Women just wanted a nice guy as long as he has a job and, you know, and has a nice personality. He got her. But it seemed like nowadays, Chrystol, people don't really want the nice, or if they want the nice, they want something else along with it. They want other things attached to the niceness, or bringing up the word nice can be almost looked at as a cuss word. You know what I mean? Like, I was just being nice. If you try to do something for somebody and they take it the wrong way or take it out of context, and you tell them, oh, well, I was just trying to be nice. They look at you and like, nice? What you mean you're trying to be nice? What does that mean? Like, you know, it's almost nice. Seems like in today's world, Chrystol, nice is a cuss word.
Yeah, I think it's because of what I just brought up. I think people are more aware that nice, many times, I won't say many times, maybe 50% of the time, someone's being nice to get something.
Yeah,
it could be a form of manipulation. It could be a form of, if I'm nice, tit for tat, I do this for you, you do this for me. Whereas a kind person is going to be kind whether they get something or not. So when somebody says, I was just trying to be nice, I don't necessarily like that either, because I didn't ask you to do that. You decided you wanted to do that because you thought that's what I wanted, or you thought you could get something else from that. I think that could be some of what the response is. Why don't you just ask me if I wanted that? Or, you know, things like that. Not, I should appreciate you being nice to me.
You know, in today's world, and I hate having to keep going back to today's world, because that's what we in. You know, we're in this new era, right? And nice can, even at times, as we having this conversation, nice can be looked at as a confused type of thing or what have you. It can cause confusion, right? Because I also heard people say that do something that may not be nice. They will say, and this is me being nice. Right? You know, we putting that into that type of context. You know, like if you get pulled over by an officer and you get a speeding ticket, like I'm giving you, or you know, I'm giving you a warning, right? I'm giving you a warning, but that's just me being nice. Really? Like that's
nice,
you being
nice. Is very subjective. It's very subjective.
How subjective are we talking about?
Well, everybody gets to define what nice is. So that police officer saying, I'm being nice by not giving you a ticket, and you're like, you weren't being nice when you stopped me. Right?
True.
So the definition of nice in those people in that situation don't see nice as the same thing.
I know this.
I don't think there's anybody that can say that the definition of nice in every situation is the same for both people in that situation.
I hope this conversation that we're having thus far is not confusing people, because this is not the type of show where we cause you to have anxiety, but it's the type of show where we want people to think as well, Chrystol, because like I said, you know, being a good person, being a kind person, it could throw off people at times that are not used to being around a good person or being around a kind or a nice person, because they so used to, or they have been accustomed to all things negative, whether it's coming from a dysfunctional household or from a dysfunctional environment, and they don't know what nice looks like until they meet that individual or they are put into that environment. You know, so what do you say to people who are not used to that? Like, what advice can you give to people who are not used to the, you know, being nice or being kind? Like, do you think that they should take it and accept it, or do you think it's something in them where they may need to go seek a therapist? They may need to get some type of therapy to get some type of clarity on, or understanding, if you will, on how to deal with people, how to navigate with people or through people when they come across a person who is deemed to be nice or kind or what have you?
That's definitely something you can work on in therapy. And I would say in therapy because there's some root to that. There's some root to your discomfort with kindness or your discomfort with someone being caring and loving and kind to you. There's something to that because as human beings, that's what we should want. We should want to be in loving, reciprocal, kind relationships with people that take good care of us. And if that's something that is not attractive to you, or that is something that is off-putting, or you've never had a relationship like that, then I would suggest you go to therapy to figure out what the block is for you experiencing that, because you're missing out.
Indeed. Okay. For those that are just tuning in tonight, showrunner, They Don't Like Us with Chrystol Wilson Payne, who indeed specialize in this type of behavior, dealing with clients, talking to clients on a regular basis, a professional licensed counselor that we have here on Therapy Ain't No Joke. I want to take a quick break, Chrystol, and if you can stick around for a little bit, I want to switch gears, but still dive into the same showrunner topic that we've been discussing during the first half of the show, because I want to switch gears and bring up a little bit of the political landscape that we in right now, as well as the social norm that we have all witnessed over the past few years with this divide, because there's so much division happening in both the political landscape as well as in the social landscape that we're all in. And, you know, like I said, tonight's showrunner is They Don't Like Us. Why is there so much disliking towards each other, especially in our community? It's almost like we're finding something on a person to not like about them. You may not like their policies, you may not like their thought process or their ideology and so forth, but I just feel like so many people are just in hate mode right now, Chrystol. And many of us either don't know how to navigate or to rectify it, or we just don't want to. We just like, I don't like you because I don't like you, you know, and I'm going to find something on you that I don't like about you. So let's dive into that in the second half, if you're willing to stick around for a little bit. We have Chrystol Wilson Payne, licensed professional counselor, right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke with Sean Garvey. Once again, I want to encourage everybody to make a donation to the machine here, cash out, $Reach One Communications to support the content, or go to our website, reachoncommunications.com, and click on Donate Now to support us and the content. We will have more with Chrystol Wilson Payne in just a few moments, and yours truly, the architect, Sean Garvey. This is Therapy Ain't No Joke. We are streaming live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the Flow Television Network, and wherever you get your streaming and podcasts from. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back with more Therapy Ain't No Joke.
I'm Ben Affleck, and I want to thank you for joining me and supporting Paralyzed Veterans of America.
I joined the Navy to serve my country as a Navy SEAL. While parachuting with my platoon, my parachute didn't open. And I broke my neck. It left me paralyzed. Paralyzed Veterans of America was by my side from that moment on.
Since 1946, Paralyzed Veterans of America has kept a promise to our wounded veterans. We will never leave a fallen comrade behind.
Thanks to PVA, paralyzed veterans are getting specialized medical care and treatments, the benefits they've earned, the jobs they want, and the accessible vehicles and homes they need.
I just don't think my family would be as happy as they are. without the support that I received from Paralyzed Veterans of America.
Our veterans fought for us. Let's fight for them.
To learn more, go to pva.org today.
Anticipate potential delays for the morning commute. In other news, a recent government report on prescription drug pricing points to corporate mouth.
Freedom of the press is about your right to know.
What are you talking about, man? Look at his stats. Clark sheer athleticism.
It's about your right to be informed. Your right to access all types of information keeps us free as a nation.
No.
Today, there are real threats to press freedom.
Reaching residential areas by...
And your right to know about the world around us.
Look.
Some threats are obvious, some are easy to miss, but they all put our way of life at risk. We must defend against all of these threats, no matter what kind of news is important to you.
Justified putting American troops in harm's way.
That's a great question.
We must protect our right to know before it's too late. Understand the threats. ProtectPressFreedom.org.
I'm Ben Affleck, and I want to thank you for joining me and supporting Paralyzed Veterans of America.
I joined the Navy to serve my country as a Navy SEAL. While parachuting with my platoon, my parachute didn't open. And I broke my neck. It left me paralyzed. Paralyzed Veterans of America was by my side from that moment on.
Since 1946, Paralyzed Veterans of America has kept a promise to our wounded veterans. We will never leave a fallen comrade behind.
Thanks to PVA, paralyzed veterans are getting specialized medical care and treatments, the benefits they've earned, the jobs they want, and the accessible vehicles and homes they need.
I just don't think my family would be as happy as they are without the support that I received from Paralyzed Veterans of America.
Our veterans fought for us. Let's fight for them.
To learn more, go to pva.org today.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it?
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got? Or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, babe.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
And we're back. Welcome back to Therapy Ain't No Joke. On Honey, make sure you download the app to your Roku TV if you haven't already. We are also on Amazon Fire TV. Just look for Reach One Network. All of the information is on our website, reachoncommunications.com. And we're also simulcasting on Facebook, Instagram at Sean Garvey ATL. We'll have all that information at the bottom of our screen in just a few moments. But in the meantime, we are in the second half of Therapy Ain't No Joke with my special guest, Chrystol Wilson Payne, who is a licensed professional counselor for the Journey to Better LLC. And she's also the owner of the organization, still hanging out with us. And if you are just tuning in, tonight's topic is They Don't Like Us. They Don't Like Us. That is our showrunner for the evening. And just to recap why we decided to make this into a show topic, it stems from a video that our very own Chrystol put out on Instagram and on TikTok simultaneously. And if you don't mind, Chrystol, I want to replay that video for those that may have not seen it during the first half of Therapy Ain't No Joke, just to remind people or let people know what Chrystol actually said in the video that may have made people think, or may have made people think a certain type of way, you know, because she got a lot of calls, text messages, DMs, emails about it. And we're going to switch gears and talk about something else tying with what she said on social media and on tonight's conversation and they don't like us. So let's play that clip again for our viewers and listeners out there. And this is coming from Chrystol on social media and on Instagram. So let's go ahead and play that clip. Oh, can we play it again?
I don't like you. He doesn't like you. She doesn't like you. They don't like you. And there's absolutely nothing you can do to change that. Stop trying to prove your worth and your value to people who are determined not to see it, or who just don't want to. They cannot like you, and that doesn't have to have any impact on how you feel about yourself or how you move around the world. Let it go. It's okay not to be liked. It's okay to not please everyone. Move on with your life. They don't like you, and that's okay. They don't like.
All right. That came from Chrystol herself on Instagram. They don't like you, and that's okay. And let me also say this, Chrystol. When you said that, you know what song came to my mind?
Yes. But what song?
Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar, which is the song of 2024, the anthem, not just only a diss song, but the anthem of 2024. They not like us. They not like us. They not like us good, nice, decent people, you know.
And many times that's why they don't like you, because they're not like you, because they're not like you.
Not right. Not like us. Not like us. So we're in the second half, and I wanted to switch gears for a moment because we're in this political landscape. You know, we're only a few days away from the big day, November 5th.
Almost there.
We're almost there, right? We're almost there. A very tight race between two presidential candidates. And it just seems to me, you know, especially hearing from all sides, from people supporting this candidate and this side of people voting for this particular candidate. And I just think that we're in a space right now, Chrystol, where we're just finding something about that person that we don't like. You know, I don't know if that's reaching or if that's too much of a stretch. I can understand you are not agreeing with his or her politics or their ideology, but I've heard some of the most hateful things from people about this person that is running for the highest office in the country.
Yeah.
And I was like, you never met this person. you never met them. You don't know them, right?
Yes.
You know, how do you, well, first off, do you feel the same way? Like, do you feel the same way how I'm feeling about people just finding something to not like them for other reasons besides, oh, he's a racist or she doesn't care about this side of the country and what have you? You know, do you sometimes think like that?
I think it can be odd sometimes, like the visceral reaction that people have to the two candidates. Like, as you said, you don't know them as a person for you to have that level of hate or response to them. You can disapprove or dislike what they stand for, the things that they have said, but you don't have a personal relationship with them for them to have that much power, like over your mood. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are people who literally will see a sign with one of the candidates' names on it, and it just ruins their whole day.
Or even triggers them. And I know we use the word a lot, trigger. You know, it is like that person's name. Oh, it just does something to me when I hear that person's name.
Yeah, and that's not healthy for somebody you literally don't know. And one of them is going to be the president. So you got to kind of be okay with hearing one of the names, both of the names at some point, because you're going to hear one of them a lot. So, yeah. So it's definitely, but this happens, you know, every 4 years. And I think it has gotten worse, you know, since, 2008, because there were a lot more personal attacks personal attacks have become more a part of political campaigns and things, I think, since 2008.
Yeah.
Which makes it feel more personal, which makes each person's candidate feel like their person. So that's why everything, I think, feels more personal now, and there's more emotion behind it. Where it used to just be, this person represents what I believe and that person doesn't, so I'm going to vote for that person.
Yeah. And just for those that are wondering who we talking about, I mean, obviously, we're talking about both former President Donald J. Trump and Vice President, who is now the presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, running for President of the United States. Both from different parties, one Republican, the other one Democrat. And so do you also think, too, that the media has a part to play in the division, or has a part to play in the hate?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
I want us to expound on that for a moment.
I mean, the media want people to watch them, so you have to have something to watch. So what they highlight, even what they highlight about certain candidates is going to draw certain attention, whether it be negative or positive. It's a business. The media, news, things like that, it's a business, and they need viewers. So they're going to show and they're going to talk about the things that will get people to watch.
Mm-hmm. You know, as a person who works in the media and who's been in broadcasting for 21 going on 22 years, I have grown to realize that, like you said, it's a business. Mm-hmm. And, you know, for folks like myself that started out in radio 21 years ago, I didn't look at it like that. You know, I look at it as going into my job, going into a promising career of doing something that I love doing, mm-hmm. right? But then as you graduate from this grade level or this classroom to the higher that you go and everything, you start to realize, oh, I need to switch careers.
Yeah.
I don't think I love this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think, you know, just because the keyword that you use is a business. And anything that I say on this mic, you know, whether I'm endorsing a candidate or talking highly about a particular political candidate, that could do something to my credibility as a broadcaster. But, you know, for the people on the outside looking in, Chrystol, they don't realize that it's a business. And I'm just sitting here in this chair, just giving out my opinion, my thoughts or whatever about how I look at the political landscape. But, you know, whatever I say, I'm going to get a repercussion. There might be some consequences. I could lose deals. I could lose other endorsements. Yeah, advertisers and stuff like that. You know, why do you think the average person don't see it that way?
I think there's you mean to not be so focused in on just their own beliefs? Is that what you mean?
Right.
Well, we live in a culture right now where everybody's opinion matters to them. So, and everybody can go down to Best Buy and get a podcast mic and express themselves. So, and you know, some people say they need to stop selling them. So we don't have but it's true. And even the podcasters are like in direct, some of them are in direct competition with actually trained broadcasters, right? And so they have to, the people on the news have to kind of turn it up in some way so that they can compete with these people who can just say whatever they want to say. And they get the ad dollars or they get the viewership because they're in their isolated bubbles. And many of us, especially in the United States, we only listen to people that we agree with. We all are in a silo. And so we think everybody that agrees with us, and we're right. And then those other people that we have no idea really what they think, they're wrong. Right. And these are people, you know, that may like you or may not like you. Mm-hmm. You know, and it goes back based on what's being said in that silo. Right.
and it goes back to tonight's conversation. They don't like us. With broadcasters, since we're on the topic, with broadcasters being in that position and, getting a lot of hate. I've been in this business, like I said, and I have heard stories and seen people get hate mail from people that simply do not like their ideologies or their philosophy on certain things, or just their stance on certain things, their opinions and stuff like that. And it has gone to the point, even on social media, Chrystol, where if you make an opinion about whether it's a politician or even outside of politics, you make an opinion about a movie or about a particular record or song, whatever, and that other person that or you don't know makes an opinion or goes into a debate with you, and you are going back and forth, that person can just simply unfriend you like that. So is that part of the whole hate spectrum when we go on social media or when we go over the airwaves and we express an opinion and stuff like that? Does that also seem as hate to a certain extent?
I think it definitely can be. I think, especially in certain mediums where there's more freedom to say certain things, there are certain boundaries in certain social media where you can't say certain things. But yeah, that it's, again, you can say whatever you want to say behind the keyboard and people don't even have to know who you are. So there's so much more freedom, again, like I said earlier, to express yourself, the opinion that you think is right or that you think is so important. And there are people that literally just like to get people upset. They like it. So they say the thing that they know is going to get a certain group of people upset, and they're going to go in.
Wow. And I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it so many times.
Literally tell the post. If you're not emotionally invested, you can tell, oh, this person was just, that's why she said that, or that's why they posted that, because look at all the engagement they have now.
Right. It's all shock value. Shock value at its finest. On the conversation of the political landscape, right? And this is the show. I just want to remind people that this show, we don't focus so heavily on politics. We focus on tangible things that are happening in our lives to make us want to reconsider or to heavily consider going to therapy. Because let me tell you something. After this election is over, imagine how many people are going to go see Chrystol Wilson Payne and set up an appointment to go see Chrystol Wilson Payne. I'm just saying. Of course, the vice president that's running for presidency, Kamala Harris, or Kamala. I want to make sure I say it because some people say Kamala Harris. Okay. She released, or allegedly, because we got to say allegedly, released, or her team allegedly released this agenda to help Black men. Right. And many of you all know what this was released. Of course, just tangible items, or what appears to be tangible items, to help Black men go and support her in the number of days ahead towards the election. And I wanted to speak a little bit on that because I am a Black man. And as a Black man, I have faced a few hardships in my life, both professionally and personally. And it's like, I don't know, Chrystol, like I feel some type of way about it. I have mixed feelings about it, and I think it's fair to say that because, days before that agenda list was released, former President Barack Obama, from what people deemed it as, talking down on Black men. And the whole thing of Black men not coming in numbers to go out and support Kamala Harris to be the next president, or the potential next president of the United States. And, as a Black man, to me, I don't know, I see it as somewhat hate, to some extent.
In what way?
In the way where, like I said, going through the different hardships in life, from being rejected from a number of jobs to being marginalized to just work a certain position for a particular entity and being judged before I could even go in and be a part of an interview. And, from what I've heard and from what I've seen thus far in this political landscape, it makes me feel even more like when I say they, I'm not talking about Barack and Kamala, but I'm talking about they meaning a number of people that are outside of us, Black, not manosphere, but outside of us, not liking us, and they don't want us here. You know what I mean?
Do you think that's specific to, I'm just trying to understand, specific to Black men or Black people?
Just Black men.
Black men.
Black men.
Where do you feel like you're not welcome or they don't want you?
So like in conversations, right? Like what you mentioned about podcasters, I'm glad you mentioned about the part about podcasters that go out and they get this equipment and all of a sudden they have their own show. They have their own podcast. And I've been in the universe, not as a broadcaster doing this type of content, but as more so of a listener and a viewer, watching other content creators spew out hate towards a certain gender, the whole Black men versus Black women, and the manosphere, as what they want to call it, the manosphere of Black men talking down or talking against Black women, right? And then watching and listening to content of Black women talk about what Black men are not doing, and just hearing all the hate from both sides, right? And then you tie it in with what appears to be Vice President Harris' agenda to help Black men. I don't know. I just see it as kind of like, how can I put it? And I don't mean to be pausing, ladies and gentlemen, but it's just, it just makes me seem as we're now the new disenfranchised group of people in America. Malcolm X once said that the only group, and I'm just paraphrasing, the only group that are the most disenfranchised was the Black woman. Right. Now it seems like today, Black men are the most disenfranchised group of species here on this planet. So I know it's a lot to take in, and I hope I'm not rambling to our viewers and to our listeners, but just when I saw that the other day, the agenda list for Black men and what Vice President Harris is set out to do if she is elected, I don't know. As a Black man, I have mixed feelings about it.
Are you the specific list or just the fact that she did it?
I think it's both. I think it's both, because how she did it, she realized that she got to get as many Black votes as possible, as many African American votes as possible, especially from us. And I also think too, she did it from the fact that folks, like our former president Barack Obama said what he said publicly about Black men, and listening to the content creators and people in the media space talking about the number of Black men that are going out supporting Trump.
Well, I think, and I think it does even kind of tie back to the topic of this show, which is, I think she realized they don't like me. The Black men, there's a large percentage of Black men who don't like me. Not quite sure why. We knew about the disinformation that had been said about her with locking up a lot of Black men. That have been kind of dispelled, but that didn't seem to do anything to help with her appeal to them as a candidate. So I haven't actually looked through the agenda thing, but from what I understood was that it was something that was already in there And what she's trying to do is kind of what we talked about, trying to prove I am somebody that you can trust, or somebody, this is why you should like me, quote unquote, like me, so that you would want to vote for me. These are the things that I already have in place that would be helpful to you. That was my understanding of it. I don't know that she wrote up a quick black man agenda and and just kind of tossed it to you. I think it was some things that were already in there. And I have heard concerns from other people saying black men have decided that they don't like her without really getting any information about her. And I think that goes into what you're saying about this hate going back and forth. It triggers this black man, black woman thing.
Right. There you go. Yeah.
It triggers this other thing that isn't really even about this, but it triggers that other thing of like black men don't support us.
Yeah.
There was no problem when Barack was running, but now that Kamala's running, she has to prove herself. Right. I'm just speaking from that side. That's some of the viewpoint over here. And so now that she's trying to prove herself, then there's like, well, it's too late. So I think the conversation has triggered some of that other stuff that always tends to come up between black men and black women.
There we go. And that's where I'm getting towards, Chrystol, and it just brings so much clarity to people that are probably wondering, what is Sean trying to say and everything? Maybe
what you were trying to say.
What is Sean trying to say? Especially for, I know the brothers out there, they hear me loud and clear, but I know our sisters, our queens, and our black women, I know they're out there listening like, what is Sean trying to say? What is Sean trying to say? Well, we just put it out there, and that's just how I feel as a black man. Listen, let me really be transparent and be really honest, okay? So I've been feeling some kind of way recently regarding where I was, as far as from a financial standpoint, from an economic standpoint. And, many of us are not in the same box as the others that society deemed as a menace to society. And it all goes back to media, because what we see on television and films and what we listen to and everything, there are people out there that put us in a box.
Right.
And stuff, you know what I'm saying? And there have been times where I feel like this person didn't hire me, or this person didn't recruit me because they look at us black men as a stereotypical type of person who is unemployed, out of work. He may be dealing with some mental health issues or mental health illness and what have you. And we just not going to hire you. We're just not going to hire you based on the strength that you're a black man out of work. What is wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? So now we get into the conversation of people having assumptions.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like when people see me or when people saw me off the mic, maybe didn't know who I was, they don't know that I'm a radio personality. They don't know that I'm a TV personality. They see me as a regular person and they just assume.
And you're treated a certain way.
Right. That they just assume that I'm unemployed because I got let go from a company. I got fired. I did something wrong. I did something that I wasn't supposed to be doing. I must have a criminal record. These things play in people's minds when they see me or when they see my resume. I watched American Skin for the first time last week. And when I saw that movie in its entirety, I had to go back and watch it again. Something told me to go back and watch it again. Because when you're a black man and you go through life where people just assume that you did something because of the color of your skin,
right,
that you should be treated wrong, that you should be put in a jail cell, or you should be punished. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, with us black men, it's like, how much stuff do we have to go through before we can get a slice or a piece of the American pie? How much stuff do we have to go through before you want us back in the household and want us to be the leader that you all want us to be in the community or in the household? You know, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I want her to come back on the show. I'm not going to say who it was, but we had a conversation before doing this taping, Chrystol, and she experienced the stuff that I'm saying, you know, and I know what I'm about to say may get me in trouble. But good.
Pause. Okay.
Pause. Good trouble. But I mean, this is a conversation. This is one of those things that we got to talk about, Chrystol, you know, especially when it comes to the Black man's mental health. But what this person experienced is that people in leadership roles in companies, and especially in human resources, a lot of them are very selective in who they hire.
Yeah.
You know, and what I've noticed is that a lot of women, Black women, and let me say the disclaimer, I love my Black women. I love them. We have one on the show tonight. But from what this person told me offline, Chrystol, is that these women working in human resources, they are super, super selective in who they hire.
Mm-hmm.
And she had told me stories about Black women in human resources turning Black men away from high-paying jobs because they don't want them in those positions. But yet you say that you want a leader in the household that makes a certain amount of money, that reaches a certain tax bracket, that takes care of the household. But how can the Black man take care of the household if employers and people in human resources are not hiring the Black men to be in those positions?
Mm-hmm.
And it all goes back to the showrunner for the night. They don't like us. You know what that does to a Black man's mental health?
I do.
I'm gonna let you say your piece. Chrystol.
Oh no, I mean, you're telling the truth of your experience as a Black man. There's nothing that I can refute about that because I'm not a Black man, right? So I think sometimes that's the issue with Black women and men trying to have conversation, is that we don't allow each other to have space of our experience. So right now the topic is Black men. So I'm not going to come back in and say, well, let me tell you about what it means to be a Black woman, right? You get to have that space. And I see the same thing, like when a Black man comes into my office, it's not the first thing that I ask him, but at some point I ask him, because they won't bring it up. What you just said, like, as a Black man, do you know what it feels like to be a Black man in this country? Go through all these things and try to get all those. They're not going to ever say that. It's going to be, my job is stressing me out. My wife, you know, it's going to be, and I'll say, okay, so I just want to hear what it's like to be a Black man. And there's usually a long pause and then tears.
Woo! Wow.
And like, nobody ever asked me that. And I just said, and listen, so what does it mean to be a Black man trying to be a husband, a provider, you know, trying to work up that corporate ladder that seems to just stop at a certain point? You know, what does it mean? What does it mean to realize you had trauma from the past, but you don't feel safe? You don't have any safe places to work through that stuff or to talk about it. What is that like? And they're some of my most consistent clients. Once a Black man starts therapy, he's one of the biggest advocates for it.
Yeah. And let me just also say this. I've done episodes, especially on the mental space, where I invited Black men to the studio and to discuss what we all go through as a Black man, from a professional level, from a personal level, from a community level. And it was one of the most important conversations that I have ever done, Chrystol, and viewers. Like, it was just very candid, and each black man on the panel had something to say. There were no crickets.
No.
No crickets.
Yeah.
Every black man had something to say, from a licensed counselor to a pastor. Because I had them all. I had them all on my show. So I think this is another conversation that we need to have on Therapy Ain't No Joke again. And I'm glad that I wanted to express that to you, Chrystol, because you talk to both men and women, but I think this right here validates, or makes you kind of like think what is on our minds, and what we're dealing with, right? And whatever happens after this political landscape, or after the election is over, because I know we talked about that just a few minutes ago, whatever happens, the black man is going to be under a microscope regardless. And it takes conversations and dialogues like this to really get some form of change happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and it starts with you all donating to the cause, by the way. Cash App, $Reach One Communications to support the content, or go to reachoncommunications.com and click on donate now. So we only got a little bit of time left. I really appreciate you, Chrystol Wilson Payne, for coming on to Therapy Ain't No Joke. I want to, before we exit, I want to break down the 6 steps to deal with people who dislike you, since tonight's showrunner is called They Don't Like Us. Okay. And I want to start with understand dislike. How does a person understand dislike? What does that look like?
Well, I would say that just means dislike is like you're not that person's preference, and everybody has the right to dislike and like who they like. So understanding that it isn't even always personal. It's just you're not their preference, and that's okay.
Right. Yeah, because
it's really that simple. It doesn't have to be that deep. They don't like me. That's okay.
You just got to keep it moving.
Right. I don't like Pepsi. I prefer Coke.
Right.
Pepsi is not changing their formula because I don't like it. Right. Somebody likes it. So, yeah.
Or, if that person goes on a date and that person just not feeling you, or don't see no type of romantic connection, it's okay. It's okay. I don't know about that check though, but it's okay.
Yeah, but it's okay, because that just clears the way for somebody that is going to like you, right? So It doesn't have to mean anything about who you are as a person and your value as an individual for someone to dislike you.
Yeah. Okay. Number 2, assesses your own behavior. Reading the room, if you will.
Yeah. Are you doing something? Is this about you? Is there dislike or someone not like you about something that you have done? And it's about just taking accountability. So this can usually come from feedback. So I've heard people that after a date, somebody says they're not interested. Well, would you mind telling me why? Not that I'm trying to convince you of anything, but is there something I said or did that kind of turned you off? So assessing your own behavior is like asking for feedback, or if you're getting the same results, okay, what's going on with me? So it could be something that you're doing, and that's just something that you need to work on. It's still okay for the person to dislike you.
It's like what I said earlier in the broadcast. There are some people that say, I am a work in progress.
Exactly.
Yeah. Finding something to improve in. Okay. Number 3, approach the situation with empathy. Ooh.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard when you're offended or your feelings are hurt. But sometimes people don't have the capacity to be in relationship with you as you are. It's kind of like the example that I gave of the friend that said, because the way you are, I feel bad about myself. I could have been angry, offended, all that kind of thing. And I was just like, okay, I mean, I'm not going to be anything different. I hope you work on that. And, we could still be friends, and maybe that could have a positive impact on you. But if it's too hard for you, that's okay.
Right. Right.
So that's using empathy. And you and I also said that person doesn't have what I have, and that's why they're acting this way. That's
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Number 4, set boundaries. I think that's a very important one. You know, you want to make sure you set boundaries and safeguard yourself from being hurt down the road, or being hurt by the wrong person. Set boundaries for yourself.
This was actually one of the main reasons I made that video, because people were in relationships with people, friendships and romantic relationships with people that had shown them in multiple ways that they don't really like them, and they stayed in the relationship. So you got to set a boundary for yourself to start saying no to those kind of relationships. When people show you they don't like you, end it.
Yeah. Like they say, when a person show you who they are, you got to believe them. All right. Number 5, seek common ground and build bridges.
So this is, I think this is if there's still hope for the relationship. Maybe it's not that they don't like you, but they don't like something you did. Or it's you continue to be you and show up in whatever relationship you're in. And then sometimes people come around if they actually get to know you.
Interesting. Okay. I'm all about building bridges. I'm not about destroying them, but building bridges.
Keep being you. You can know they don't like you and you still say good morning when you come in. You still show up as you, and they may come around. Yeah.
True indeed. Number 6, the final one. And this is a toughie for me because it took me a while. It took me time to let something go. But number 6 is know when to let go. Ooh.
That's what I was just talking about with the relationship. Like, they don't like you. They really don't. Like, sometimes it's a frenemy. It's somebody that you in your family. They don't like you when they can't be happy for you when you're successful. When they don't like you as a person.
Oh boy! See, you about to go into another conversation that we don't have time for, Chrystol. But that
real though. Just because you're related to them does not mean they're happy for you or that they actually like you.
Ooh-wee.
And you gotta set the boundaries, say no, right, and let go of trying to earn this person's love, care, friendship, whatever, respect, all of that.
Would it be fair to say that I'm going through that right now?
I think reactions.
I'm going through that. I know people that are going through that right now. Just because they are DNA related does not mean they like you or they don't like something about you. Ooh.
Just because you're married to them doesn't mean they like you.
There's some billionaires out there that I'm not going to even drop names.
Just because they're your kid don't mean you like them, right? Like, it's just, DNA doesn't have anything to do with that. And you got to let it go and move on with your life.
Yeah. All right. Well, Chrystol Wilson Payne, this has definitely been a very great conversation that we both have had, and it's something that needed to be had because, people don't understand the dynamic behind disliking people and why you are being disliked. And it would be great if we lived in a utopia type of world where everybody loves each other. There's no war, there's no conflict, but unfortunately that's not the world that we're living in right now. And so we just wanted to have this conversation with people to navigate through it. So before you get up out of here, Chrystol Wilson Payne, let people know how they can get in contact with you and learn more about your organization and what they can do to help or to come in and speak with you.
Well, you can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Chrystol LPC. If you're looking for a therapist, you can call me at 470-798-0224 or email me at cwilsonpayne@jtbcounseling.com. And that's for speaking engagements, therapy. You want me to come in and speak to your employees, all the things. You can reach out via any of those mediums. So social media, email, or phone. And thank you for having me, Sean.
Oh, well, thank you for coming on. Therapy ain't no joke. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, she does have her social media handle at the bottom of the screen here, under her name, Chrystol Wilson Payne, LPC. So follow her, and you have all the information on your social media page as well, too, right? All right. So if you want, so just in case, let the viewers and listeners know one more time, so that way they have a pen and paper handy and they can take down this information. So one more time, how can people get in contact with you?
All right. Follow me on TikTok or Instagram at Chrystol LPC. That's CHRYSTOL LPC. You can call me at 470-798-0224 or email me at cwilsonpayne, and Payne is PAYNE, at jtbcounseling.com.
Okay. And I think we have the number here. This is your contact number. That's 470-798-0224 to contact Chrystol herself. All right. So, yep, Chrystol, thank you so much for coming on. Therapy ain't no joke. And we got to have you back on the show very, very soon as we continue to raise mental health awareness.
Thank you. I'll be back.
Right. Well, thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Chrystol Wilson Payne joining with us right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke. I want to thank you one more time to you, the viewers and listeners, for tuning in to the Therapy Ain't No Joke show. Once again, dial the Crisis and Suicide Lifeline number, which is 988. If you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis, there is the 3-digit number there, 988, and you can still contact NAMI. We have the information below here on the screen. Contact the National Alliance for Mental Illness helpline at 1-800-950-NAMI-6264, or send them an email to info@nami.org. Their operational hours are from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. I also want to thank Ray Melody for the music bed that you are hearing in the background. Big shout out to her. Make sure you follow her on social media at Ray Melody. So I appreciate it, Ray, for the theme music that we're playing in the background. And until next Wednesday, I will talk to you all soon right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke. And this is Sean Garvey signing off. And remember, folks, always keep you and others in a great mental space. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you.